Kwa vibaya nikianza kutingiza kiuno na hata tingiza, chagua ngoma nyingine. Inaweza leta shida kidogo. Nimeona hata anaogopa. Lakini
Siasa. Doji. Get on you and you're selling the street and not walking telephone ring television and not playing.
Mpigieni makofi mpaka afanye mambo yake. Wewe, twende. Rambo kanambo.
Sasa wewe, hii ni maneno gani unaleta hapa tena? Sijui kuanguka nayo. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining our panel discussion session. Let me invite on stage our panelists, kindly. Yeah. Sit this side, I sit in the middle. So you come this side. Then, yeah. Yes, and you here. But you can come here because that's... Karibuni sana tena sana katika this afternoon session ambapo tutakuwa na panel discussion on what motivates citizens to engage in a democracy. And in this session we are going to unpack what are the different ways that we can use to motivate citizens to engage in a democracy. And when we talk about citizen engagement and participation, this refers to the active involvement of individuals and communities in decision-making processes that affect their lives. So here we're going to talk about governance, about policy making and public service delivery, and how citizens, individuals and their communities can be engaged. And looking at the theme of this year's People Dialogue Festival, where we are looking at building a collaborative democracy for Kenya's sustainable future, it's important for us to talk about citizen engagement and ways in which we can motivate citizens to engage in governance, because this is a way in which we are able to find out how then do we give people voices, how do we ensure that they not just participate, but we also have meaningful participation when we have forums of engagement. And so in this panel discussion, we have structured questions that we're going to ask our panelists, whom I'm going to introduce in a short while. To contribute to the conversation, each panelist will be given about 2 to 3 minutes to answer and contribute to the conversation. At the end, we'll also open it up by taking a few questions from the floor, and then we'll pick it up from there. So to contribute to this conversation, we are joined by representatives from Twaweza, from Shujaz, as well as from Busara. So starting from my farthest right, maybe you can introduce yourself, and it will go around, your name, the organization you come from, and just briefly about the work that you do.
Thank you. My name is Brenda Amundio Gutu. I work at Busara as an Associate Engagement Director, where I lead the governance portfolio. So our main agenda at the governance portfolio is to find ways to improve citizen engagement. So we want to see what affects how people engage with issues that affect them, what civic activities are there that they can engage in, and use behavioral science, which I think we'll get a little bit into, but basically how can we get people to engage meaningfully in issues that affect them. So that is in the public policy cycle. Thank you.
Thank you. Na mimi naitwa Baruani Mshale. I'm assuming that everybody understands Kiswahili, right? No? Okay, then I'll use English. Baruani Mshale is my name. I come from Twaweza, East Africa. Twaweza, as the word suggests, that we can make change. Mimi, wewe, ni sisi. Together we make change. The work that we do broadly aims at building democracy for improving the lives of the people. And more specifically, what do? We gather evidence, and then we use that evidence on citizens' views and experiences of public services and government policy to improve the relationships between citizens and their governments, so as government can change the way they interact, the way they engage with the citizens, and improve the lives of East Africans. And we have set an ambitious goal. For the next 4 years, we want to contribute in impacting positively the lives of 10 million East Africans. We work in Tanzania, Kenya, and Uganda. Thank you.
Thank you, Barwani. My name is Gideon To. I am a vice president at Busara. I work with Brenda and Monica here, so I won't introduce Busara, but it's nice to be here today. Asante.
Good afternoon. My name is Joy Mwaniki. I work for Shujaz Inc. and I'm the senior manager for governance, which means that I lead all governance campaigns. If you don't know Shujaz, we're a multimedia youth platform that inspires, entertains, and mobilizes young people across Kenya and Tanzania. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that introduction. And so we can deep dive into the main agenda for today, for us to unpack how do we motivate citizens. And my first question is directed to Barwani and to Gideon. So oftentimes, with regards to civic participation, people think it starts and it ends with elections. So this limits the feedback system in which that will ultimately enhance engagement between the government and the citizens. So maybe if you can give us a brief overview of what citizen engagement looks like within East Africa from your work. Maybe starting with Barwani.
Thank you. Yes, absolutely right, that most of the time when we talk about citizen participation, people would assume it's the participation during the voting processes, during the elections. But we at Twaweza, we decided to broaden that up and say, where else do we see government and the citizens interacting more closely? So we decided to pay attention to processes and structures at the local level. In Kenya, that is at the county and the wards. In Uganda, the district and the LC1. In Tanzania, that is the district and the villages. And there, we are looking at the interactions between citizens and their governments when they are making everyday decisions, where to locate the marketplace, whether they need to build the classrooms or to renovate a health center, etc. And not just looking at elections. And the reason why we decided to expand beyond just looking at elections, as you have said when you're explaining the question, is that elections are those moments of interaction that happen once in a while, maybe after 4 years or after 5 years. And because of their political importance, you find that elections may end up being captured by those who want to assume power. Whereas there are these important decisions affecting people's everyday realities, and then there are these spaces where these decisions are made, and the citizens are not actively engaging in those spaces. So we decided to focus on those spaces and less on elections, so that we can demonstrate exactly how can citizens and their governments come together to make decisions for improving their well-being. Thank you.
Thanks, Barwani. I think I will second that point and underline it, that in our East African context, we see when we talk of citizen engagement, we focus mostly on elections, and it's for a good reason, because it's almost like a culmination of all the different activities and forms of engagement for 5 years, and then it culminates in an election period with campaign and a voting process and so on. But just like Barwani, our work has really we've learned to focus on what happens in between election cycles. And when we talk about citizen engagement, I think you can look at it in 3 ways. There's the more formal forms of participation, where if it's a bill that is being proposed somewhere, we are having discourse about it, we're going for a public participation forum, we're going for a rally, different forms to engage on the more formal, more technical parts of governance. But then I think more importantly and more interestingly is what you can call informal forms of participation. So think of the Harambe over the weekend in your constituency, think of your member of parliament showing up to a funeral, think of contributing to building of a new classroom. All of those are forms of participation, because we use those platforms and those opportunities to have dialogue with our leaders. Those are almost for some leaders, they show up a few times a year to these events, but they also know that it's very important because it's one of the few opportunities they get to engage. But more recently, I think we're seeing engagement happening online. We're seeing people having these conversations, these dialogues kwenye mtandao, and I think what has been very interesting, especially in the last 1 year, is people are now more aware of the different forms and channels that they can engage directly with their leaders. Someone here. I think we can continue. So, yeah, just lastly on that point, I think it's important to underline it because we are seeing more and more young people engaging through very accessible platforms like social media directly with their MPs, and sometimes that can even be like what we've been seeing, tunasalimia wanasiasa. That's a form of engagement, because what that does to the behavior to the psyche of a politician is that nowadays politics is no longer about we only see you on TV or we only see you during campaign periods. They know that people are seeing what they are saying online. That's why they are also using these platforms to directly engage with citizens. So I would say that is sort of the landscape of citizen participation in East Africa.
Great. And as both of you are speaking, you've touched on both online and offline engagement. And so when we look at instances of citizen engagement, suppose it fails, the implication is that the government often it fails to get the right feedback on whether policies are working for the people. So that results in citizens being disengaged or disillusioned. So to Brenda and Joy, what does this translate into? Maybe starting with you, Brenda.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, like I think as you've mentioned in your question, when citizens do not engage with policy making, in the policy making process or in issues that affect them, what happens is we let, it's more of a top-down approach. So we let the leaders make decisions on our behalf. If you're familiar with the process, it first of all goes through, we make the policy, then we bring it to the citizens. And I usually use the example of myself. My background is an urban planner. So typically after we make a development plan, we bring it to the people and we expect them to challenge us, to tell us what is missing. And if that doesn't happen, we go back and assume our role as experts is enough. So why we need citizens to participate, which I believe we are all here, this is one form of participation, is to put our voice into the matter. What matters at this time? We are thinking about the economy right now. People need money in their pockets. So if you were to bring a policy or a development plan and you're not taking into account that, you'll definitely get feedback from the citizens. Otherwise, if I'm a politician or I'm a policy maker and I feel we need more roads, we need more health facilities, or we need ABCD, that is what I will do. So I would say citizen participation is really important. I think we saw it last year in the finance bill, and we'll keep seeing it more and more, that people understand that engagement is not voting only. Engagement is taking part in this conversation, making your voices heard, attending community meetings, attending development plan meetings. So even though there is, of course, the structural challenge of you not being aware where these discussions happen, or what activities to take part in. That is our role here as Busara. We try to get this word to the people, what civic activities are there, so that even if we have the structural challenge of not being aware what to do, when to do it, we have, CSOs, we have different stakeholders bringing it to the people, and then we hope that the people then are able to engage, so that I don't want to use that term, bottom up, but like what I mean is more people on the ground giving their voices, so that policies are made like from the ground going upwards. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say from the research that we've done as Shujaz, we've talked to young people, and we found that when young people are not engaged in governance systems, they can fall into two main groups. So the disgruntled and the disenfranchised. The disenfranchised is that young person who feels like, I don't think governance or politics is for me. I don't think it's suited for me. I'm not a political science student, so it doesn't make sense for me to even be interested in what's happening regarding the government and my country. You'll find the second group now is the disgruntled. So those are young people who've tried to engage in the system, but because of different factors, maybe structural barriers, they don't have an ID, they don't know how to get information around governance, they get frustrated and they get angry. And what that means is then it becomes a cycle for both groups. So the disengaged are not engaging within the system, and they continue to feel left out, they're ignored, and then they're also portrayed as being powerless. Young people are seen as they're not really able to make a change, they don't really have something to say, and that continues the cycle of feeling disengaged. Okay, so it doesn't matter to me, I'm not meant to care about it. But the disenfranchised gets angrier and angrier because, again, they're being left out of the system. They want to engage. They're being frustrated at every chance that they get. And again, they're portrayed as the villains. So those young people who are often described as a ticking time bomb, they're dangerous. Young people can be incited to violence. And again, you become more frustrated because that's not who you are. You just want to engage in governance systems.
Thank you. So far we've been able to unpack where we can engage people and why it's important to engage people on issues that matter most to them. But now if you can deep dive into the how. So how do you think organizations like Twaweza, Busara, Shujaz, and even government actors, as well as other stakeholders, how can they be more effective in driving meaningful citizen engagement? Maybe starting with Barwani.
Thank you very much. To be able to encourage and promote more active citizen participation, it is really, really important to understand why is there no active citizen participation right now. Some of the arguments for that have been mentioned here as to why the government is not implementing meaningful citizen participation. When we understand that, then we can think of ways of how we can improve the way citizen participation is happening. Take an example of the county integrated development plans process, the way it goes. In some of the places that we have been, what we have learned is that that process is very much top-down. It happens very last minute. A thick document is presented to the people, and they're expected to read it. It's written in English, and they're expected to read and then make contributions. What happens is, they decide not to disengage, but to go to these consultation processes. They go there because they know they will get some allowances, some handouts, soda, hela ya mkate kidogo, and like that. And when we were talking to them, they said, when we were asking them, but why do you do that? Why don't you push for more meaningful citizen participation? Because you are going to be affected by the decisions that are being made. And then they would say, do you think the government would care? So already people have decided to sign off because they see whatever they try, the government is not going to care. So they decide also to play the game. And they also told us, and I'll try to say it exactly in the words that they said, and this was in Makueni, and a group of youth were talking to, and they said, mnajua hata nyinyi Twaweza, mkitupea tu hapa kitu kidogo, mtaona vile tutaitingisha hii serikali, mpaka mtashangaa. So clearly, you see that most of these participatory processes have become a performance, just for symbolical purposes, but not really to inform the decisions that are being made. So first of all, what I want to say here is to understand why participation is not happening the way it should. And most of the time, the failure of meaningful citizen participation is on the side of the government. So we need to engage with the government, and we need to show the government that you should care for meaningful citizen participation, because if you don't, the decisions that you're going to make are not going to be fair. You are going to waste resources, and sometimes some of the projects cannot be accepted by the communities. The community may feel the lack of ownership. They may be sabotaged, or they may just decide to disengage with them, and then those projects become unsustainable and they fail. So when we show the government that it is in your best interest to promote meaningful citizen participation, then perhaps they can do so. But at the same time, we need to keep on engaging with the citizens to understand in what formalities would citizens like to participate. Because even here, as we are having these conversations, as I'm observing the audience, there are those who are remaining engaged, they are following, but there are quite about a third of us who are getting entertained by something else there, and they are wondering, when are they going to finish talking? So I think we really need to understand how can we engage, what language can we use, and what issues can we be talking about that really resonate with what people care for, and then we can improve the participation. Thank you.
Yes, maybe we can move to Gideon.
Thank you. To your question, Monica, what can stakeholders do to promote engagement? And stakeholders here being mostly CSOs. I will lean on the work that we've done at Busara, some of the research we've done. And for context, Busara's work is we use behavioral science. And behavioral science is really trying to understand the human mind and how we make decisions and what informs or what influences how we make decisions. And the opportunity that I see through our work to really promote citizen engagement in a very sustainable way is through political agency. And political agency means an individual or a group of people having the belief that they have the ability to influence outcomes politically, and not just through elections, but elections is a crucial part of it. That political agency, if that can be nurtured, if that can be promoted, is a very powerful way of really enhancing participation, particularly by the youth. And I'll use the example from last year during the protests, the movement around the finance bill. I think for the first time in many years, we saw young people in Kenya engage with what was previously considered a technical process. It's very boring. It's about finance bill. It's government processes. We saw so many people, not just civil society organizations, but even just young people on Twitter, spending time using technology, using their platforms to go and study this finance bill, bring out some of the more important clauses, and then put it out on social media. And then people could engage and really understand what that actually means. And and that is at mass. So you can imagine that's what that does to the average young person, the young citizen who used to imagine government being this big, bureaucratic, complex machine, and just seeing in very simple terms how that can be done. And so political agency through political education like that is very important, but it can also mean someone doing more systematic work, like a CSO saying, teaching young people what does a senator do as it relates to a governor, what's an MP's role, what is a woman rep's role, what is the cycle on an annual basis. Like we're coming up to the this year's budget process and the finance bill. Not everyone needs to understand how complex or how the whole process looks like, but what are the different small ways that we can break down this process and empower people to understand it, and then leave it up to them at that point to do what they will with that information. So that's the first part. And the second part, briefly on political agency, is if you show someone the consequences or the implications or the impact of their actions in one way or the other, if you show them that because they did this, it led to this, and it led to this change, and show them that pathway in one form or another, it's a very powerful way of showing someone that you actually do have you've done it. Maybe you just didn't recognize it, but you have the ability to do it. And if you want to take it further, these are the pathways that other people like you, other young people, other citizens have taken to bring about change in their community. And I'll close by saying in behavioral science, there's a term we use a lot called social norms. And social norms is basically how you as an individual, you're influenced by society around you. So if it's whether it's your culture, whether it's your family, the practices you have, whether it's your friends, and whether it's strangers online, if you can relate with someone, an influencer, for example, online, they're going to participate in a protest tomorrow, and you really relate with this influencer, for example, you like what they do, you believe in them, or one way or the other, you are more likely to mimic their behavior, and that happens through what we call social norms. So, in just closing, I think political agency through political education is a very important opportunity.
Thank you.
To add on what everyone has said, I think there are several steps that the government can take towards rebuilding trust, especially with young people. Right now, young people feel angry, they feel frustrated, they feel even afraid to say what they think about the governance systems. But if the government really wants citizen engagement to take place, they need to show, first of all, tangible actions, that they are listening to what people say, their concerns and their challenges, but also ensuring a safe space. And I think that's where CSOs can come in. Having a safe space where people can come and say, this is actually the concern I'm having with the country, with the government, and having that conversation with leaders in such a way where I can see action taking place once I've spoken, but I'm also in a safe environment. And that will keep encouraging people, especially young people, to keep coming and to keep raising their concerns. The government also needs to reduce the structural barriers that hold people back from engagement. I mean, last year we saw a lot of people are engaged. They are concerned about what's going on, but maybe they don't have the funds to go to a baraza. They don't really know what the finance bill means. And that's also where other citizens come in. We saw a lot of support from other Kenyans breaking down what the finance bill means, translating it into vernacular languages, making it more accessible. And that's also something that can be supported by CSOs. When we talk about that group that I mentioned earlier, so the disengaged, the disenfranchised, those people who don't believe that governance has anything to do with them, we can also bridge that gap by showing them governance systems even at the local level. So maybe the concept of me going to a baraza is too big, but the thought of me being the leader of my local chama is more approachable. I start to understand leadership and governance systems in that way. So we can also approach people, especially young people, where they are, break down those concepts, especially in relation to youth groups, football clubs, and chamas. Yeah.
Great, thank you. Earlier on, when Joy and even Gideon were giving their input, they touched on what we witnessed last year in terms of the Gen Z movement against the finance bill. And with that came a lot of online advocacy. So to Joy and Brenda, what role does technology play in driving citizen engagement? Maybe starting with you, Joy?
I think technology has broken down that barrier. Now anyone can pick up their phone and say what the issues that they're facing are, how they feel, their frustrations. We've seen that with TikTok, we've seen that with Twitter, Instagram. Now young people are able to drive that conversation. We've even seen it with what I mentioned earlier. There was a ChatGPT function where you could put the finance bill in and ask questions. What does this mean for me? What does this mean for my pay slip? We're also seeing like technology it's sort of a safe space in itself. So someone doesn't have to put their face to their frustrations. They can push a message across, a concern, a challenge that they're facing without having to sort of put themselves at risk. Yeah.
Thank you, Brenda.
Thank you. So I would say I look at technology, maybe let me use the example of social media. And a lot has been said touching on that. So as part of my work is to understand what behavioral things come into play when people are engaging online. So we think about, as Gideon mentioned, social norms. You know, I see my friend posted about there's going to be a protest, then I am able to go. I see people I know feeling more comfortable to talk about politics, then I'm able to do so. I think when you think about self-efficacy, what is it that I can do as Brenda to, influence the process of the public policy? When you think of the government, it's really large and it's really big. And sometimes you feel, my vote won't count and all of the above. But social media allows me to see, wait, somebody else is doing it. I know there's a lot of risk to it, but you feel a little bit more comfortable when your friends, your family are online. I think I saw a lot of that coming into play last year. There's also the aspect of collective action. If you, me, I, and the other person are talking about this, and we have leaders coming up in the social media space, allowing us to know where to meet, when to meet, and all of that. Social media makes it easy for information to reach quickly. I can easily start something today and people will be present tomorrow. So it makes information a little easier to reach the people. How we are trying to get people to understand the civic activities, what they need to do. Of course, you'll find us on LinkedIn, you'll find us on Twitter and everywhere, because at least it's easier for us to get information there. Additionally, it's easier to break down these technical aspects. I mean, I can understand that, you know, the social bill, the finance bill, for example, was really large, and nobody will sit down and read all of that. But we are able to, you know, use technology like you mentioned, the ChatGPT and all of these systems you can use to summarize information so people can get information or understand it easier. You know, we saw people breaking down the large budget. If I say $1 billion, I mean, it's not easy for me to think about what can $1 billion do. But social media allows me to quickly go and I can see people talking about how many hospitals it can do. So I think the role of technology last year was really important to get information to the people really quickly, to get them to understand it better, for them to feel comfortable. And I think you mentioned the safe space. I'm able to talk more. We also had, you know, X had or Twitter had spaces where you can go. So not only can you engage offline, but you can now go and get your voices heard. A big part of our research this year is also to understand, you know, how does that online activity translate offline? A lot of times we talk about our issues online, but it doesn't actually get offline. So I think these bits that I've talked about enables people to feel comfortable enough to challenge the government in terms of challenge the policies that are being brought forth, because you understand what affects you on the ground. So it's more about giving people a good space, a safe space, and an easier place. I can easily be at work and take 5 minutes of my time during lunch break to engage in a meaningful conversation. I don't have to think about what transport do I need, what lunch money do I need, what do I need to go to a protest. My voices can be heard because of technology. Obviously, we know there are downsides of technology, like we have misinformation. Obviously, there'll be disinformation, but that is also the role of stakeholders and CSOs to figure out how to bring this information to the people in an accurate and truthful manner. Thank you.
Thank you. So we've talked a lot about technology, but as we look into the future, beyond technology, how do we see citizen engagement evolving in the future? Maybe starting with Barwani?
That's a tough question, especially when you're trying to imagine the future. And I'm saying that it's a tough question because if you look at events that happened last year, for instance, I don't think many of us would have expected such kind of events, the uprising, the Gen Z protests, etc., would have happened in the way they did. So imagining what will happen in the future may not be a very easy exercise. But it all depends with the assumptions that we make about the future. If the government continues to ignore what the citizens care for, what citizens want, if the government continues performing what we call tokenistic participation, pretending that the government is engaging people, but in real sense they have actually made the decisions and they are just going to these participatory processes for rubber stamping, if the government continues to prioritize the interests of certain groups of people, be it the elites, business and political elites, etc., but not really caring about what the ordinary citizens want, then what I expect will be more of disruptive forms of citizen engagement. And the disruptive ones, I am referring, for instance, to the protests that happened last year. They are disruptive, yes, but it doesn't mean that they are not useful. They are useful because they signify the fact that all the avenues through which people would have expressed themselves have failed. So all the structures, the processes, the formalized ones have failed. they remain inaccessible to the people. The decisions that are made there are not in favor of what people want. So if that continues, we should expect in the future to see more creative and innovative ways of disrupting these formal processes and structures, because people have been pushed beyond limits and they have no way of expressing themselves rather than through disruptive forms of engagement. And I think we will see more of those, and we should, because they are very, very important to put the powers into check and to reconfigure, to realign the way citizens engage with their governments. So if the governments, but at the same time, what I would say, what we should expect to see in the future, the government is also smart. The government is not dumb, is not stupid. The government is also learning how they can squeeze, how they can advance, but at the same time, how they can retreat. So they may be making decisions that are not in favor of what the citizens want, but when they see that they have pushed the people to extreme limits, they may somehow retreat and open up the spaces and maybe give in to some of the pressures from the people. So we should expect as well to see the government also becoming innovative, creative, coming up with alternative ways to continue suppressing our voices. So we need to continue also being mindful the use of technologies to engage or to disengage as much as we see. But at the bottom of it all, if people's lives do not improve, we should not expect it to see improved citizen-government relations. We should continue seeing these broken relationships and the people opting for violent forms of engagement. Thank you.
Thank you. Joy, from Afshuja's perspective, what is the future of citizen engagement?
I would say it's somewhat similar, though I'll try to be a bit more optimistic. It is truly unsustainable for the government to continue ignoring the concerns of its citizens, especially its young people. I do foresee young people continuing to lead the conversation around governance and citizenry. I see them leading that charge, holding our leaders accountable, informing the rest of Kenya about what's actually happening, and alerting them to any forms of corruption that they're noting. But then I also see the government being forced to meet the citizens halfway. So having those conversations with people about what's actually happening, trying to bridge that gap, especially around trust, and a feasible action. But at the same time, I think it's a process that will take a few years. It's something that we have to keep pushing for, especially as CSOs, especially as individuals and as young people. It's not something that will happen overnight, but I do see a positive future for Kenya and its citizens.
Thank you. And Gideon, maybe do you want to add on to anything
Sure.
in what we see as the future?
Sure. Like Barwani, it's said it's hard to predict what the future will look like. Even in 5 years' time, the world might be very different. When I think of 5 years ago, today, it was March 2020. It was just before COVID started, in Kenya at least. And you can imagine all that has happened in the last 5 years, not just with COVID, but just broad society. What for me, if I think in 5-year, 10-year terms, and especially when I think of young people who are increasingly going to play an important role in politics and in governance matters in Kenya and across the continent, I think of what Brenda said about technology and particularly social media. But then I also know that even in 10 years, X or Instagram, TikTok, they might not exist in 10 years. There might be another form of technology. But what will persist is that ability for people through one form or another of technology to shape the narratives that are being had in a particular country at any given moment, and especially by the youth. And the shaping of citizen narratives, we're already seeing it now, but I imagine in 10 years it will be even more powerful, is shaping what we call traditional media. So think of community radio, TV, community TV stations, think of the national ones like Citizen and so on. They all use social media now to look for information, to mine for what is happening in different parts of the country, and then they use that to amplify and bring them to the national scale. So you can imagine what that does to the voices of different kinds of citizens, some of who never had a voice at a national stage. And then now you can imagine what that does to policymakers and bureaucrats and government officials. They know that people are listening, people are watching, people are having conversations, and this is what they're saying. So they also adjust their behavior as human beings naturally. If something is being said about you in a public space, you adjust accordingly. Whether you're being honest or not, you adjust. What that means is, like Barwani said, it could be in a negative way, maybe deciding to shut down internet spaces, but it can also be in a positive way where a policymaker, a legislator knows I need to show what I'm doing through these platforms. So when they're launching a project, when they're doing something that they said they were going to do, they communicate back through the same platforms. And then that also encourages now future, even more increased engagement. And just to close that, it's very important to underline the fact that because we have a very young continent and a lot of people are becoming more and more comfortable with using technology platforms, it doesn't take a lot to guess that in 5-10 years, the important voices of young people is really going to influence our political trajectory in ways that maybe we cannot even imagine right now.
Thank you. So tumeambiwa form ni dialogue. So those are the main questions we had for the panelists, but we also want to hear from you with regards to if you have any question, comment, or any reflection with regards to the conversation that we've been having. So if you have a question, kindly raise your hand and we'll ensure a mic goes round. The Busara team, kindly.
Oh, thank you. Looking at what happened last year, as the conversation has been, it was as a result of the leadership not listening to the Mwananchi. And looking at what we are going to see in the next 20 years, Kenya will be having around 100 million people. The land is not growing with the people. Resources, most of these resources are being looted by some small individuals. If you can look at recently I was looking at the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics. If you can do some few calculation, you'll understand that it's less than 75,000 individuals in Kenya who own everything that we can see around us. So what are we going to do to at least prevent a civil uprising in the next 10, 20 years? And how are we going to avoid just listening and engaging with these people? Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dennis Sikuri, a social justice advocate. I have a question directly to Mr. Barwani. You started by saying we're having tokenism in terms of active participation. So my question is, how does social economic factors influence citizen participation into governance matters? And do you have examples, let's say in Kenya and Tanzania to Uganda, and also the best practices to bridge the gap between individual motivation and citizen participation? Thank you.
Thank you. For the final question, there's a lady back there. She was the first person to raise her hand, please. If we can just have the mic taken to her. Her hand is up.
What happens to us? We have questions.
Just give her the mic first. Hi,
My name is Bra. I'm with the Imara Fellowship. I have two questions. Youth and the public getting involved with dialogue with our politicians. I think the main question we should ask ourselves is who is actually employing our politicians? Because last year, when we had the protests, we all came together, we all did the civil movement thing, and yes, it stopped the finance bill. In the meantime, right now, as we are speaking, most of the things in the finance bill have been brought back. The people who we have elected to be our leaders, the people who are supposed to be speaking for us, are actually getting money from other people outside of us, the public. And those are the people who are dictating the situations. Those are the people who are dictating what they will do. So I think the first question we should ask ourselves is, who are these people working for? Because it's clearly not us. Second thing I want to say is, in as much as social media is a great tool for being able to actually communicate with our leaders, I think being able to actually speak to our leaders one-on-one and actually being able to access them would be better. Because right now you find like maybe my leader, my MCA, let's say in Kawangware, I live in Kawangware, my MCA doesn't live in Kawangware, he doesn't even understand the problems in Kawangware. The guy lives in, I think, Kilelesho or something. We literally don't live in the same area. How would that person ever understand my problems? Also, if I have a problem, I have to go to the chief and then pay a bunch of bribes by the time that it even gets to the MCA. There should be a way for me to just go directly to the person who is representing me and tell them my problems. As much as social media is a great way of actually getting in contact with these people, what are, I guess, the legal ways? What ways has the government, what doors have they opened for us to be able to go and actually communicate with these people, instead of us having to go to social media and starting a whole fuss so that I can be able to talk to my MCA? What way is there for me to actually go directly to my MCA and actually tell them my problems? These people, are they even living in the same place as us?
Thank you. For now, we'll get answers to those three questions first. So for now, we'll get responses to the three questions first. Starting with the first question on how do we prevent a future civil war, right? That was the question. Maybe if I can direct that to Gideon, since we locked eyes.
I'll try. I can't say that I have the solution, but I strongly believe that the systems of governance change over time. You're talking about 20 years. What we have today doesn't necessarily have to be the same system in 20 years. If you think about our current system of governance, our current constitution was promulgated in 2010, and we first saw it in action in 2013, 2014, up to today. It's still, you can call it the early stages in the, if you think about things in terms of 20, 30 years, but it is important to remember that when a system is not working, it's important to change that system in one way or another. It doesn't have to be in a radical way like that, but we have agreed upon a system or a constitution that is based on a representative form of democracy, where I elect someone, you go and represent my interests at a national level or a sub-county level, at whatever level. And if that is not working, then we need to have a conversation. And to Barbara's point, especially a country like Kenya and a growing population, the size of the country, I think it might not be practical to say, let's have a face-to-face conversation with my leader all the time. I know in some countries, like in Botswana, it's a very small population. Even the president goes to villages and sits in barazas. I don't know how possible that would be in Kenya. And this is why technology is a very important tool, where you can have, in a very cost-effective way, like Brenda said, at lunchtime or at home, you can actually one-on-one have a conversation with the president. Like I remember last year, there was a space on Twitter, millions of people joined and just had banter. And I think the president felt the heat, even though there's controversy about how that was organized. But yeah, just to say that when a process is not working and we've given it enough time, it's important to have a conversation about what can we improve. But also, we don't discard a whole system just because some parts of it aren't working. So, and this is why, to the earlier point, citizens need to be engaged and participate in policy making, because that's the only way that your priorities, your needs are going to be factored in. And so the question is, how can we do that better?
Thank you, Gideon. You've been able to answer to the first answer and last question. So maybe if we can have the final response to the second question on the social economic factors that was directed to Twaweza.
Thank you. Before I respond, let me try to engage everyone. How many of you would prefer life how it was in Kenya in 2005 and not how it is now? How many of you prefer how the situation was in Kenya in 2005? That is, you are saying the situation in 2005 was better than now. How many of you would prefer living in that moment rather than living now? Raise up your hands. Okay, a good number. How many prefer this moment over 2005? An almost equal number. How many of you, if you had a chance to defer being born, and you decide, I want to get born maybe in 2075, how many of you would have gone for that option? A slightly higher number than the other groups. But what it shows, when you look at the number of people who feel life was better in 2005 compared to now and vice versa, it is almost an equal number of people. But when we look at the statistics, the various socioeconomic indicators, they would be telling us how there have been significant improvements. Life expectancy has gone up, the economy has gone up, GDP, you look at it, infrastructure development, the number of kids in schools, healthy services, etc., everything has improved. Yet, why is it that there are so many people who feel their situation has not improved? So that speaks to both the comments made by the two speakers there. That is, there is an equal distribution of these so-called development proceeds. Whatever it is that we use to measure that whether our economy is improving or not is not equally distributed. It's accumulated, it's concentrated with a few. The 75,000 or less that you mentioned. And at the same time, the few who now control the economy also control our politics. That is why they make our political processes become very, very expensive. To become an MCA, you know how much it takes for you to be able to become an MCA. So they have made it very difficult. They have captured our political processes and the spaces as well. Then the question becomes, how are we going to reclaim these political structures, political processes, so that they work for us? They work for what we want. Will we be able to prevent civil unrest and civil war? I don't know. I don't know. I honestly do not know, as Gideon was also saying. So those are tough questions, and we just need to keep on pondering. But I think what's important is to belaboring the point that there is inequality. Social inequality has increased, despite all indicators showing that our economy is improving, etc. But there is an equal distribution, and there are so many people who feel disenfranchised, they are disgruntled, and they are not happy. How will they react? I don't know.
Thank you so much for that. And so in closing, we just want to quickly share some of the key highlights from the conversation we've had today. One, how we should leverage on our political activities for engagement, and with that comes online engagement. It's important to understand why people are not engaging, but also come up with modalities to foster engagement. Political agency is an important tool in terms of helping people to believe that they have the power and that they can influence policy. The government, like Baruani said, the government is watching, and it's clearly listening, and so it's going to come up with creative ways to also curb citizen engagement. And then finally, the future. Think about the future, it's quite unpredictable. Yeah, and also the room for young people to engage in citizen engagement. The room is still there, so let's keep engaging. And as we close, form ni dialogue, so let the conversation continue online. We also have our booths down there, Busara and Twaweza, so feel free to pass by and we can continue the conversation on citizen engagement. For now, as we close, I'd like to ask the panelists, we stand in front for a group picture, then we step down. DJ, unaweza tupatia ngoma moja kali.
DJ, nataka nakurudishia. You will win it. All right. Hey, jamani. Unatafuta cue ya kukata. Unarudia hiyo wimbo. Ladies and gentlemen, I said we should do better in appreciating the people that come out of this stage. Please give a better round of applause to them. Thank you. Thank you very much. Now, once again, it is good to continue affirming people time after time. Si kweli? Kidogo kidogo tunakumbushana tu. Turn to the person seated next to you, tell them they look nice. Wakumbushe tu. And don't tell somebody they look nice and you're telling them on a very serious face that you look nice. It might even turn out scary. Give them a smile and mean it. You look nice. Yeah? Yeah. Yeah? Hold it there. Hold that thought. I'll give it to you. Clear to up. Yeah, and while you do that, remind them form the dialogue. Remind them form the dialogue. We are here to engage at the People Dialogue Festival 2025. Na hii youth village, sisi wote tunajua. The young people are very vibrant. The energies are up here. And so it is going to be a very nice one to kiendelea to keep your tempo. So before we go, I want to take only 5 minutes max. 5 minutes. This is to say, if I give you an opportunity to speak, you take the shortest possible time to just say your contribution. Say 30 seconds so that we allow another person an opportunity. So, Aimas, I don't know utapatiana hii mic kwa volunteer ama ndo utaenda hapo juu nayo. Unaona aje? You can say, you start with this lady here. Mdada alikuwa ananismailia kutoka asubuhi, sasa ananiangalia na hasira bwana. Ukimnyima mic sioni kama nitashuka hapa. Inaweza kuwa mbaya. So you can, of course, give a contribution to the things here and feedback to it if you want, and then we can move. 30 seconds itakuwa poa. Iko on, is it green? Mpatie mic, bro. Mpatie mic. Try now. It's on. Yeah, it's up.
Good afternoon, my fellow youth. How are you? Now, I want to speak I want to give a contribution to just what ended. We are talking about citizen participation. In 2010, August 2010, there was a baby that was sired called Evolution, who is now 15 years. that baby was to give power of self-governance back to the people. But it turns out that the power we are exercising, we are giving to the wrong people. I want to give an example to Kiambu County. In the fiscal year 2023-2024, I went for public participation and I gave my contribution in the youth and sports department. We gave what we wanted as youth, but it's very unfortunate that our contribution was not taken into consideration. That has been proved by the audit, by the CFSP report. It reported that the department has zero absorption. That means that all the money that was allocated to that department, all of them went to recurrent expenditure. That leaves me with a question: where is my voice and when is it going to be heard? My second contribution is, when we are attending public participation, usually these meetings happen during the mid-morning hours. And it is during these mid-morning hours when women are exercising their unpaid domestic care work. Our women are not able to participate in governance and in decision-making spaces. It is rightful for the government to recognize, the same way they call us for other activities, to recognize that public participation is not just a meeting. It is recognized in the Constitution. Then the government, as I wind up, the government to stop relying on print media to call the youth for public participation. Ni wangapi hapo wananunuanga gazeti ati wanatuwekea public participation kwa gazeti? There are very few people. They should find the youth where they are. Kama ni kwa TikTok, waende TikTok. Kama ni Twitter, waende Twitter.
Thank you very much. No. I think it will be fair if we distribute the mic so that we give, but you can go first. Nisikunyime na umeshashika. Nisiitoe kwa mdomo, si ndio?
Nilitolewa mara ya kwanza.
But please allow him to distribute the mic. After wewe usipe mtu mpe yeye.
Okay, my name is John Moshori. I'm the program coordinator in Bunge Mashinani. My contribution is regarding civic engagement. We the people always wait for the government to come to engage us. And we engage with the government at least 2 hours. And we have heard that when it comes to budget documents, it's quite a huge document to actually, discuss it in 2 hours. My contribution is it possible to have people's platform in our wards? Now, adding to what my sister here is talking about devolution, people's platform and specifically the town halls. We have seen the president going around using the town hall platform to speak to the people. Can we, the people, have these town halls in our wards? First, start engaging among ourselves as a people before we engage with the government. This will enable us to have time to engage with these documents. So when the government comes for that 2 hours, it's just a matter of giving decisions, not having a discussion. Now, my question to civil society: how possible can we make this? What are the frameworks that are needed to put up these platforms within our wards? Thank you.
Kuna mkono pale nyuma, the blue suit. Hiyo mkono imekaa juu. Yeah, come to.
Okay, thank you. I want to give out my contribution, but before I do so, my name is Caleb Marine. I come from Kajiado County, a county that, from the Auditor General's report, has the most corrupt governor for this period. But that's not the sense of what we are here. I just want to talk to youths in this country about why us and why now. Because we are the people enlightened in the society to make the change that will fit us in the future as old people. Why now? It's now because our right time for making the decisions of our country that we need in the future is right. Let me finalize. I want to talk to the young parliamentarians that were here, and this is what I will say to them. As you walk to parliament, the roads that you are using has blood of the generation that is fighting for the future of this nation. As you pass on top of those bloods, make sure that you make right policies that will protect the dead or anything that is going to encounter the freedom of our society and of the youth of this nation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Could you bring the mic? Let me see. Inua tu mkono wenye umeinua nione. Bling, yeah, bling the mic. Somebody is saying bling. Bling, bling. The mic. You can pass it to the boy there, and then, how many hands are here? I want to distribute once, nimalize. The boy here, the girl here, the woman here, the girl here, the girl here, and then tumalize pale nyuma tufunge. Please, 30 seconds strictly.
So my name is Geoffrey Mboya. I'm a community organizer from Bukuru, Kwanjenga, and Embakasi South at large. So I just want to echo what my colleague mentioned about Kiambu. And I just want to say that democracy is not a noun, it's a verb. And with the people behind the wheels, especially we young people, if we cannot drive those conversations, then we will always complain about these leaders not making decisions. And I'll give you a practical example. In Embakasi South, we've reclaimed a school that was grabbed by the MP in coalition with his cronies here. So we have to push for that. We have to take the mantle. At times, using these conventional methods to push for to table a petition, to move matters to be discussed, sometimes are not working. Sawa. Sometimes you go to that school and make them see the action. Sometimes action works in Kenya. Sawa. Siku hizi maandamano ukimake ndo vitu wanasikia. Sasa kila time tutakuwa tuna use, and there's a sound very radical, but at times ukiona shule na grabiwa, ukiona something is not working, team up with your group, make chaos na uone change ikipatikana. Sawa? Asante.
Good afternoon, everyone. Martha Nyamo is my name.
Check.
And mine, I'm going to make it very quick. I'm very heartbroken that we're still having a conversation on the availability of documents to citizens before public participation. One thing that has worked in Kiambu County is that the CSO networks, CSO organizations came together, engaged the Commission of Administrative Justice through the Office of the Ombudsman to compel the county government or county assembly or county executive to present any report or any document that needs to be discussed during public participation 2 weeks before the public participation. And have it available on their website. And so for me, it is a call to action for CSOs, because we need to move the conversation from spaces like Number 2, government does not initiate, government responds. One thing that we have seen, and I want to applaud the Gen Zs for the Occupy movement that they did last year, it was because of the citizens understanding Article 1. They occupied, they said, we don't want this. And that had a ripple effect at county level. I want to say that in Kiambu County, for the first time, the county executive actually came to seek the views of citizens so that they can draft the ADP. Normally, they usually draft it and then bring us the copy. But last year, after the Gen Z movement, the county executive came and said, we want to hear your views so that they can draft the ADP. Finally, as I finish, we're talking about citizen engagement. The challenge has been that we're trying to call citizens to where we are. We have to understand that
for the first time, I think in a long time, historically as a nation, citizens are already organized. And I remember one of the ladies was saying, we're organized in chamas, in sports groups, in residential associations, in business communities. We need to go into those spaces to do the civic education. We need to go to those spaces and do the budget cycle information sessions. We need to use those platforms to inform the citizens on what their role is where decision making is concerned, and because budget is such an important one for us, that is the space we're going to use. That has worked for us. I represent an organization called Kiambu Pamoja Trust. Last year, we mobilized across the 60 wards of Kiambu County. Out of the submissions that we made, based on the mobilization that we made through our different platforms across the 60 wards in Kiambu County, 81% of our submissions are being considered today for budget allocation. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that input. Please, no. There's 2 people back there. 2 people. To quite disciplined in the time, 30 seconds each. We'll allow to go into the next session and we get time to continue.
Okay, good afternoon everyone. I'm Teresa Omoro from Siasa. What I will urge is when we are going to do advocacy outside there, let us have a criteria mass behind us. What do I mean? Let us go as a group, because when you go alone, that is where you will be utapewa that fear that we were talking about. But when you are in a group, maybe you write a petition or you are demonstrating or picketing. When you are a group, no one will threaten you. Another thing, what I would urge is, I will urge the duty bearers. During that public participation, you find that sometimes, like back here, they call people to come in the morning. Women and youths and everyone comes in the morning, but the duty, the people who are spearheading the public participation, they come maybe at 2 p.m. So people have seated from morning to 2 p.m. People are tired and even some have given up. Then they rush that time. Please, if these people are spearheading the public participation, let them come as early as possible and let them give us time to participate in our time, because we have been waiting for them. They want to rush things.
Thank you very much. Last one, 30 seconds please. Hapo tu nyuma yake. Na hiyo mic ukisikia ikikata usidhani tumezima, ni battery inaisha.
Okay, I'm Chimama Jen Karanja. Okay, kitu naweza sema, okay, tumekuja hapa tukaketi. Si ati hatuko na vitu za kufanya, but leaders, one thing I wanted just to say, listen to us. Ruto, niko nakupenda sana but you dropped me. So, listen just to us and the leaders na watu wenye uko na wao. Then, the last thing I wanted just to say, hivyo to echo the words zake, hapo hivyo kwa parliament, damu inimwagika mingi. So, when you step that blood, kumbuka 2027, let's just wake up and just go get rid of those kuku na vifaranga wake. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Asanteni sana. Hiyo nafasi ulitoa Ruto bado iko? Anyway. Yeah. Atenrudia statement. Wewe unakuja polepole uwezi understand. We would want to respond. I know there is no serious concern that came that needed their response, but maybe, and you will... No, we are done, please. No. We are eating into another person's session. And they've already started to ask it from me. So, utapata no time. The next session is all into this. Please. But you can further go ask further questions at the Busara booth. You have a booth? Next to what booth? Next to Jubilee. Hapo tafadhali mnaweza pata further opportunities. One, somebody said that we can take town halls to the people where they are. I mean, that is possible. It doesn't need Busara to come and do it. It only needs that community to even decide that they have their own baraza. I remember when growing up, and when I say growing up, I mean long time ago. Chief barazas were very serious in communities. Where are they now? Nowhere. We can bring them back. And once they have established, we can invite them to come and listen. We just need to bring them back. Yesterday, I participated in a debate in a WhatsApp group because there was conversations. There's people who are supporting the county government and always supporting everything, good or bad. So I was like, no, we cannot continue this way. So let us have a debate with you who is supporting against me, and let us lay out facts. That is an avenue that over 100 members of the group just joined to listen to us discuss Nairobi County. We did not need anyone. So it is possible to even do it in the smallest ways of possibilities. She said we vote wrong. So why do we vote wrong? Who is the problem? Is it us? Then when it is us, what must we do? Change our voting patterns. If you voted along party euphoria lines, go and change how you vote. You can come in, yes. As I finish on that, yeah? Iwash.
Quickly kwenye hii point ya whether you voted wrong. Wanasema hindsight is 2020, perfect vision. But back then, you considered the options that you had and you voted the way you did because of the rhetorics, the narratives, and the way they engaged with your emotions. They tapped into the sufferings that the people are going through. And if that is not unique to Kenya alone, I am from Tanzania. In 2015, we voted for Magufuli. We did vote for Magufuli. Was it a wrong vote? Maybe not, because of the promise that he made. But it's only after he came into power that we realized that we made a mistake. Americans voted for Trump, and they are realizing now that they made a mistake. India voted for Narendra Modi, and they realized it was a mistake. So is the case in Turkey with Erdogan, Hungary with Viktor Orban. The point I want to make here, there is a rise of populist leaders around the world who are maximizing on the difficulties that we're experiencing. They are selling us simple but powerful narratives, telling us you are suffering, and you are suffering because of this group. Vote them out, vote for me, I stand for you, and we trust them. Only after they come into power, then we realize that they made empty promises. But at that point in time, it was not a wrong vote. They really tapped into our emotions, the suffering that we are going through. So we just have to be mindful of understanding this rise of populist leaders around the world. What are their key features? How can we detect them? How can we know that this is a populist leader who wants to use our emotions to get into power, and then they will try to dismantle our institutions and establish their authoritarian regimes? So you did not vote wrong, but the next time be more careful. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I want to bring in the next session, so I think all the things have been responded to. If there are further questions, please visit the booth, Baraza, and continue to engage. Oh, Busara, sorry. Yeah, Busara. My apologies. Somebody mentioned about public participation. I will say this because I think I've said it before. We still have a problem with public participation because they've deliberately decided not to have an act for it. So every county does public participation according to how they feel. No, counties have, but we don't have an act that guides how all county acts should look like. Makueni County has the best public participation act that starts at the sub-level. Huko kwa kijiji, sub-location, and then representatives are sent to the location. Hivyo mpaka kwa county. And it is working for them. If you come to Nairobi, there is equally a public participation act that does not even work at the county assembly. So you will know the difference. So hiyo ni kitu ambao tunaendelea kusukuma. Last year there was a renewal of that conversation in parliament. It stalled again. Deliberately, remember. So we want to move to the next conversation, but before we do, the energies, baada ya kuongea sana ni mzuri tunazipump. Just one song, naomba tusimame miguuni mwetu, tuchangamke alafu tuendelee. Mguuni. Haimas, come. Hama ni nani?
All right. Hi everyone. Hello over there at the back. You can hear me, you can see me. Kumbe mimi si mfupi hivyo. My name is MC Himas and I'm glad that I'm in this space today. I hope you're having fun and also you're learning something new so that when you get out of here, you're not the same person mwenye ulikuwa hapa, si ndio? So let us get the same energy. We are only remaining with one session and it's good to end it with good energy. So everyone should stand up. Everyone should stand up. Whoever is seated, ambia mwenzako simama kidogo. Wale wanaambia wenzao jipigieni makofi. Hebu tusikie kama energy iko. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it and you really want to show. If you're happy and you know it, pinch your neighbor. Hiyo mumesikia? DJ Kelv, let's go. Pale huko kidogo tuchangamuke tu kidogo pale huko. Hata kama wengine niliambiwa wana dance na capital letters. Where you are just kidogo, let's go. Una move kidogo tutuone kazi. Alafu unachukua space yako kidogo. Alafu kwa sababu kuna joto jipepete kidogo. Wale wanapepeta ndio hizi t-show. Pull up Kelv. Pull up. Ukiona t-shirt mnanyoosha mkono. Kuna jamaa huko mpaka amedance na capital letters. Hii hata iwezi kukutosha brother, labda uvae side moja. Hivyo. Abu getting big. Tuone kama atachangamka. Now, tuachane na yeye. Nimeambia wewe umekataliwa, tumekureject. Aya pale huko chukua tu space kidogo. Niangalilie mwenye anachangamka tunampea hiyo. Osepaniku. Aya cheza na maringo. Leo huko. Jamaa mwenye amevaa maroon. Huko. Changamuka kidogo nayo. Uko ready twende?
Goda tena strictly makwela no other.
Inside sione wenye wanaongoza twende hiyo side. Twende. Uko.
Nini hizo unacheza?
Peleka ule mrembo huko. Mwenye amevaa top ya black huyo umemwona? Umemwona pia wewe? Acha tu. Huko juu.
Shiko wa Nax, shiko wa Kiambu, shiko wa Juja, shiko wa Embu. Kuna shiko misi juu yeu du. Nyaku itafanya urasho na
Huko MC. Ati ndio. Alafu kwa tupeleke dancehall kidogo. Twende. Aya everybody mikono juu tukirusha hiyo kidogo twende. Alafu kama wewe ni mrembo, chukua space yako twende. Thank you, DJ Kev. Pull up. Thank you. Tumeambia gedhani ile ya kukaa chini kidogo tu and then we'll continue. Right now I want to call my moderator for the day. Akiwa ni Michael Mboro. taking us to the next session, which is Youth Accountability and Collaborative Governance. Michael Mbowe, where are you? Hawezi kuja kama unakuja police station. Hata police station watu wanakuja na swag, si ndio? Arudi. DJ Kelly unacheza nayo. Wapi makofi ya moderator? Wewe.
Millennium mko wapi bana? Millennium mko wapi? Mniwezane bana.
Achore.
Wow.
Right, you wanna take over from there?
Hizo ni za Millennium and za Gen Z. Millennium wako wapi hapa bana? Mimi nataka Millennium leo. Gen Z wanasemanga ati wanaogopanga tu low data, sijui low battery, lakini sisi Millennium ni wale ama sio? Hawa wamekuja nyuma yetu, si ndio tumekuwa. So conversation ya leo is very very important. Na nataka tuanze to agree kitu moja. We first want to hit the reset button. Hatutafanya mambo venye zimekuwa zikifanywa over and over again. Na ndio maana the first hitting the button imekuwa kuchange setup ya panel. Nataka we have a conversation. A vibrant conversation. A truthful conversation. Nataka mni promise tu kitu moja leo. That whatever we are going to say here itakuwa ukweli. We don't want to be politically correct. Hatutaki kuwa ati tunakaa ati watu wangwana, lakini sasa tunataka tuseme ukweli. Kwa sababu truth ndio itasaidia nchi yetu. Kweli ama uongo? Who agrees with me? Ati ukweli ndio itatusaidia, si ndio? Nataka si wote tuamke. Nataka kujua kama I'm dealing with a truthful whether I'm dealing with a truthful audience ama na deal na waongo. Hello? Hello, first say hi to your neighbor's neighbor. Neighbor yako achane. Yeye ndiye anaweza kukuibia, kukuongea, hiyo yote. Say hi to your neighbor's neighbor. Say hi to your neighbor's neighbor. Kaa umeamka na umwambie hatutaki uongo leo. Hatutaki uongo leo. Leo tunaongea ukweli. So these are conversations that we are going to have. Thank you so much. We can have our seats. Na ndio maana tujue kaa tunakuanga na watu wa kuongea uongo. Ni nani hapa hajaitumia mwax kwa exam?
Uongo.
No. Kama hujaitumia mwax kwenye huko, inua mkono juu. Waongo ama si waongo?
Waongo.
Waongo ama si waongo?
Anga.
Aha, kama hujai kula rushwa, kama hujai bribe, mkono juu. Kumbe naongea na wafisadi. Kama hujai kula hongo, kama hujai peana hongo, huyu hajawahi peana. Tumshangilie hajawahi. Kama uko hapo, uko kwa relationship, haujawahi cheat, mkono juu. No, nilikuwa nasema kama hujawahi cheat, nyinyi mmecheat. Nauliza kama haujawahi, mkono juu. Unaona sasa tuanze kuongea ukweli. Kwa sababu there has been an attempt in this country. Wachani ni washow. Juu tunapendanga hata si kujidanganya. In every election, at least kutoka 2017, there is always that candidate in the ballot mwenye huku ana represent the truth. In every election. Huyo mmoja anachukuliwa kama joker nini, but huyo anakuanga na represent the truth. 2017 alikuwa nani? Mwalimu Dida. Umsi alikuwa anatudunga truth, alikuwa anatuambia maneno, lakini sasa tunasema huyu achana huyu ni kichako. Na walikuja namba ngapi? Namba 3. 2022. 2022.
Alikuwa anasema tutingishe. Alikuwa anasema tingisha mti, na sisi tunaona ni upuzi, tunachagua wengine, tunaacha hao. Wachani ni wa show. 2017 kutakuwa na candidate tena. 2027, hello Mutiki Emery, yes mnimeze. 2027 kutakuwa na mwingine atakuwa na represent the truth. Na ile kitu niko sure najua huyo mtu atakuwa hapo ana represent the truth. Hatumjui saa hii. Hatujui ni nani huyo saa hii. Si wale ati kila mtu anafikiria. Na huyo ndiye atakuwa president wa Kenya. Kweli ama kweli? Kutakuwa na mwenye atakuwa anasema ukweli na ndiye atakuwa the next president. Either ikuwe ni Wajakoya lakini si hao wengine. Hello? Ndio maana hii session nataka tudunge ukweli sasa. Talk about our country, talk about accountability, talk about governance and the role of you young people. Millennials ni wangapi hapa? Mimi ni millennial. Fiti. Gen Z wachana na wao. Gen Z eh? Gen Z eh? Gen Z ah. Gen Z eh? Nyinyi mlituonyesha by the way 2024 nyinyi mlituonyesha bana. Mlituonyesha tupate adabu. Hiyo finance bill tumekuwa tukienda public participation year in year out. Year in year out. Haikuwa inafanyiwa kitu. Until you guys said we are reclaiming our country, you are going to have that finance bill fall. And so it is very important that we have these conversations today in the context of multi-party democracy. Wengi wetu tulikuwa tumekuta by the way time ya one party. And it was so tough that wazazi wetu walikuwa tu wanajua serikali, you cannot question the government. But the new crop of citizens hii tunasema lazima tutauliza maswali, na kuuliza swali si kudisrespect mtu. Kweli ama uongo? Hata ukiuliza mtu wako swali si kumdisrespect, bora usimtusi. So to help me today, I'm going to have some of my panelists who are going to be within the audience. Leo niko na furaha sana juu hata niko naona bado tuko na scout hapa wasee. Scouts rovers. Wasee. Naona bado tuko na about Parliamentary Scouts Union wako hapa, nitawapatia wajiintroduce. Tuko pia na Kisanet, Kiambu County Social Accountability Network, and all of you, we are going to have a conversation about accountability and the role of young people in governance. So I would first want to first to introduce the rovers, the scouts. I would want the leader of the scouts to just come first introduce the team. I know that you had something. I'm donating to you only 1 minute. I'm very mean with my time because hii conversation tutakuwa nayo ni a discussion mezana. So scouts, let's celebrate them. Let's celebrate them. Yeah. So nataka welcome the scouts watupatie hype 2 or 3 minutes. 2 or 3 minutes and then tuende kwa hiyo session nyingine ambayo ni ya conversation.
Ahua. Hamjamboni. Mko freshi? Mnaka vizuri? Sema wao. Mwanaume akisema wao unafaa umpige ngoto. So yeah, my name is called Julius Chacha. I am the speaker of the Nairobi World Scouts Parliamentary Union. Unajua mdosi anatembeanga na wadosi wengine, si ndio? So with me I have my deputy. She's called Leila. She's the deputy speaker of Langata. And kuna mwingine Maina. Where is Maina? And then there is Maina, my clerk. So yeah. And then hapa tuko na Nameless and Boaz. And tuko na the rest of us.
Barabara kabisa.
Tusimame kidogo. So, mi ndo Nameless. Nikisema 1 2 3 4, mnasema 5 6 7 8. Tujaribu 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. I say 1 2 3 4. Show me your Kiara.
What did you say?
Show me your Kiara.
What did you say?
Let's go. Aya, tuanze sasa vizuri. Mmeipata? Aya, 1 2 3 4. 1 2 3 4. I say 1 2 3 4. Show me your Katumbo.
What did you say?
Show me your Katumbo.
What did you say?
Ati Katumbo. Katumbo. Let's go.
Katumbo.
I say 1 2 3 4. I say 1 2 3 4. Show me your Mercedes. Show me your Mercedes. Let's go. Tumbo.
One more. Don't sit down. Scouting is fun, guys. Na scouting tunachukua from ages kuanzia 0 paka uko 90. Wote. Sawa. So the next song we are going to do, it's an energetic song. Sawa. So I need you guys to help me out. So nikisema weka, unasema nini? Weka. Na nguvu. Weka. Weka. Alafu ngome na bamba na makofi. Weka. Weka na mbele. Weka na kando. Weka na nyuma. Walai niombe. Omba na mbele. Omba na kando. Omba na Thank you so much, guys.
Ati omba na mbele. Allah. All right. Thank you so much. Those were the Scouts Rovers. Nataka to introduce one of my panelists who is also going to introduce the World Parliamentary Scouts Union. She's a media personality, agenda activist, mtu ambaye anajua kutetea young ladies ni kusema nini. So you've been seeing on your screens. Help me welcome one and the greatest, Wajiko Thega.
Okay, mbona DJ anacheza heartbreak song yangu bana. Yo song kuna mtu nilidedicatea bana. Anyway, saseni. My name is Wajiko Thega. I'm a scout and we also wangapi hapa wamekuwa maskao? Once a scout, always a scout, by the way. Sindo? And by the way, so we are called the World Scouts Parliamentary Union. We are a legislative caucus. That means that we are in parliament, and that by meaning parliament, that means our membership is of MPs, senators, women reps, MCs. So what do? We legislate scouting at mashinani level. Wangapi wetu walikuwa wameafford uniform wakia scout? I see 2 hands. Walikuwa ya rich kids, no? But this scout was the coolest club. Like ungekuwa na uniform, madem wote ni wako. Kama wewe ni dem, machalini hawa na kukatia. So it was a cool kid kind of club. But what are we doing? We are buying uniform for scouts who are coming from a disadvantaged background. And a uniform, just to say, uniform ya mtu mmoja from head to toe ni 5K. So unacheki mtoto wako pale Taita Taveta can't afford a uniform. So what we do, we legislate scouting at mashinani level. We also have different programs like volunteerism and community service. We also have the One Scout, One Uniform campaign. We also have now the civic engagement and youth advocacy. That's why we are here today. And what we are doing is engaging young people, because scouting is also about volunteerism. So as scouts, we also engage people at mashinani level, and now what we want to do is to mobilize people to practice on national values. Na sijui kama tunajua national values. What are national values? Integrity. Chapter 6, yes. That's ama hakuna watu wa chapter 6 hapa ndani. So vitu kama hizo, that's what the World Scouts Parliamentary is doing, and today we are going to hear what the Scouts are also doing, contributing to governance today. And to introduce Kisanet, I have seen Jemo in the house. Jemo, please come and introduce Kisanet.
Hamjambo. My name is James Mongai. I was also a scout and I'm still a scout, but hatukuwa tunaomba mbele. Tulikuwa tunasema scouts we. Scout we. Yes, hiyo ya kuomba mbele na nyuma. Gen Z yenyewe. So Kisanet is a network that belongs from Kiambu County. That is Kiambu County Social Accountability Network. What we normally do is governance issues. We do educate people on civic education, meaningful engagement, young people engaging with governance processes. Actually, we would want to take credit that only in Kiambu County, we were able to impeach the first governor. The citizens of Kiambu, led by actually young people from Kiambu, were able to collect about 210,000 signatures that were able to impeach the first governor in Kenya and in Africa. Makofi watu wa Kiambu. So it's good to acknowledge, actually Wanjiko is our convener, I'm the vice, so I would want to acknowledge our members. Kwenye mko, msituangushe watu wa Kiambu. Kama mshaitoa governor, mnaibika. Mnaibika bana. Kisanet members, be proud of where you are. Kisanet members, tumemobilize. Sisi tunasemaga mobilize, organize, si ndio? So that is what we do. Asante sana. Na I do appreciate for us having this opportunity to be able to engage on governance processes. If we don't participate, wanasema if we are not on the table, then we break that table, si ndio? Na hii mara tuna deal na wote, tunasafisha system. Lakini tusiseme, najua kuna challenge moja sisi vijana tuko nayo. Saizi we in the front line, pushing for accountability, pushing for good governance. But ikikuja time ya siasa, we don't want to run for those offices. Wangapi are running for office? We need to run for those offices. Hiyo offices si ya mama ya mtu, si ndio? We have to be in those offices. I know most of our members here will be running for office. Na tukiona kijana hapo, to support, social media to take lead. Sawa? So that is what we normally do there in Kiambu County, and we also support other counties. So mnaweza kuja mkujie mwa Kenya huko Kiambu County. Asante sana my senior.
Thank you, Jemo. On wase wa Kiambu. These guys are in their fourth governor. Ama mko wangapi sasa? They are on their fourth governor and we are in the third term. So that tells you what Kiambu is. Moto ya kuotea mbali. So I would want to introduce another panelist mwenye atakuwa kwa audience. This is one person mwenye aliingia kiti ya njoka. Mnakumbuka ule alikuwa maendeleo ya wanaume. Hiyo kitu ilienda wapi? Maendeleo ya wanaume. He is a gender activist representing male engagement. Uni mse wa kutetea boy child na kutetea men, and he is from an organization called Gears for Change. So help me in welcoming Felix Kithinji. So that kuja hapa. Bring yourself here. Aha. Wewe pole 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 pole. Tumeambiwa usikuja kaa ni police station kwa OB unaingia. Hey. Hey, vijana bwana. Wow. Felix Kithinji, 1 minute, introduce yourself and Gears for Change.
Right, thank you so much. Hi guys, naitwa Felix. Venye amesema, I do a lot on male engagement and inclusion, whereby we see that at the National Sector Gender Working Group, at the Ministry of Gender and State Department of Affirmative Action. So Gears for Change simply ndio hiyo. Us tunafanya mambo ya women in politics, tunafanya mambo ya male engagement, tunafanya mambo ya mental wellness, which is very important. We are trying to ensure that we are working with politicians towards, before and after the election. Mambo ya mental health yao, si ndio? Si mnaona zile poster huwa zinawekwa pale kwa mtaa. After elections hakuna kitu zinafanyiwa. Ule politician akipita pale inamtraumatize bado. Aliomba loan, amesota, alichotwa, sijui mobilizer, sijui manani. So many people wanakoga affected na just one poster. So for us is to educate people on mental health. Where are you as a person? What are you doing? How is your mental state? Elections ikiisha, where are you? Unarudi wapi? Ukirudi home, wife na watoi wako aje? Wanaingiliwa na wasee ati sijui mlisota, mlichotwa, wife alienda, mpango alienda, side chick alienda, umebaki solo, unafikiria kujihang. So for us is to talk about those issues.
Yeah, thanks so much, Felix. Let's appreciate Felix. Yeah, thanks so much. Next on stage, just for introductions, he's a PWD activist, somebody who really believes that young people who are differently abled have the capacity to bring the change that we need in this country. And he does not just say it, he walks the talk. He has been doing so much in art in terms of bringing the awareness for youth with disability. And please help me welcome one Dennis Gure. Deno. Wey, yeah. Deno. Wey, yeah. Wow, Deno usikuja hapa kaa venye. Kaa ni obi unakuja. Hey, That's the best we have. Dennis Gure.
Thank you MC. Asanteni sana. My name is Dennis Ngure. I identify as a person with disability. I'm a disability inclusion advisor with a company called Light Touch Strategic. I'm a disability inclusion champion with an organization called United Disabled Persons for Kenya. You can wave my colleagues. I have my colleagues, my CS, other CSO colleagues. My chairman is there from Kabete, CBO for persons with disability. And we champion the inclusion agenda in Kiambu County and also nationally. And I'm glad to be in this conversation. Thank you very much.
Wow, let's give it up for Deno. Deno will be one of my assistants kwa panel, but he will be in the audience to help us look at the issues that are affecting our participation in governance processes, especially in the lens of persons living with disability. And last but not least is a young lady, champion of climate change, and from climate change, climate action, carbon credits, and everything in between there, because climate change is the next big thing. She is a young lady, a Gen Z, who has given it her best. Just left university just the other day, and she's giving it the best. So help me welcome Stella Shiro. Wewe. Hey. Mapa ngare.
Hello.
Hello. I'm probably the one with the softest voice. Up, right? I know. Saseni tena. So mimi naitwa Stella Wanjiro. I work on issues climate. Unasikianga climate is the next big thing. Alafu amuoni hiyo pesa. Youth kujeni kwa climate sijui nini. Amuoni hiyo pesa. So can we talk about accountability when we don't talk about those climate money zenye zinaenda? Tunaweza ongea kuhusu accountability kweli? Pesa ikipotea imepotea, si ndio? Na ikiibiwa imeibiwa, si ndio? Na lazima we call out for some of these things because if me and you don't talk, who will? So I also champion for youths. I'm a youth person at heart and I'm a youth mwili. Mimi sijatoka university last year. But nilikuwa nachukia kutumiwa nikiwa university. Nitawaambia vile tunatumiangwa. But before then, it's good we listen in, we talk in, we put our insights. It's going to be an amazing conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. So let's dive straight into our conversation today by asking the question, how many of you are in political parties? Officially registered? Ya Wamonyoro bado iko kwa jiko. How many are formally registered in political parties? I've counted probably 5% of the audience. Now, the irony is the policies all these policies that we keep saying tunataka kuchange, they are changed in county assemblies, they are changed in national assembly, they are changed in Senate. For you to be in Senate, you have to go through a political process. You have to go through an election to be elected or nominated for that matter. For you to be elected, you need to vie for that position. And for you to vie for that position, you need a political party or be independent. And we know the politics of independent parties. So my big question today is, as young people, why are these political parties not so sexy for us? Why don't we feel we want to identify with these political parties? Why is it that you feel like joining a political party is a waste of time? And I will want to start this discussion because I want to hear it from you. Because if you're not joining these political parties, you need to tell me how you're going to get to those positions and how we are going to change policies. So I would first want to hear from Dennis Ngure. I've never seen a league for persons with disabilities in any political party. And yet we are having so many issues that are affecting persons with disabilities, young people. And yet your voices are not in these political parties. What is this that is making you shy away from political parties? Or simply you just don't want to join them? In probably 2 minutes, so that you set the tempo.
Thank you very much. I want to acknowledge that we have disability leagues. We have a disability league in ODM. We have a disability in Jubilee. We have a disability league in the former NAC. You know, all these parties, or most of them, they have disability leagues. But let's acknowledge, political parties are private institutions. They belong to individuals, right? Yes, that's why you hear some people say they'll start their own party. What do you mean your own party? Okay, it's supposed to be an avenue for us. Yes, they are governed by public laws, but they are owned by individuals. And then we can't also deviate from the notion, from knowing that youths and persons with disabilities have, for the longest time, been excluded and stigmatized in these parties. And what we are getting is tokenism, whereby one person who identifies as a youth is taken up by the party, and then they are told they are heading the youth league. Which league are you talking about? And we are not seeing these youth leagues or these disability leagues. Okay, we need at least to have conversation. Those youth leagues or disability leagues to have discussions, to have debates, so that we can see where your policy is, where our policy is, and there is where we can have a positive argument. Otherwise, for now, we are still facing a lot of exclusion and marginalization. Yeah.
So are these people who are holding these positions, are they really representing the interest of persons with disabilities, youth? Because for women, the women leagues have been quite strong. So I would want to hear from a young person. who has just taken the mic, what is the place of the young people in political parties? And do you really feel, with the numbers that you control, do you really feel that you have control of these political parties? And if not, what is the next course of action between now and 2027?
Hello everyone, my name is Prince. I come from Kiambaa, and umeguza pahali ya political parties nikakumbuka. The current reigning, defending and disputed political party began at our backyard. And the problem with something beginning at your own backyard is you are supposed to be the ones who set the pace for other people who join in. And it so happens, regardless of the fact ilianzia kwetu, na tukavisit hadi mbunge wetu kumwambia asivote finance bill. Alifanya nini? Alivote yes. Ikikuwa ati ilianzia kwetu, and we would want a youth league from our own place, I am telling you right now, with no fear or doubt, the only person who would be in that youth league, akona connection, anajuana na mtu, he has a big father. You asked again, with the numbers that we have, do we really have control when it comes to these matters of political parties? And the answer is currently no. And the main reason is, in the years before, we were not really interested in politics at all, until you touched a bear that you thought was dead but was sleeping. Right now, we will not join any party ovyo. But come 2027, believe you me, huyo mwenye hata hana party, as long as he's a young person, we will support that young person.
Na hizo si stories za jaba
Bra.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is also Deno. Yeah. There is a question that you asked before, if we belong to a party. I did not personally register to a party, but there was a time tulishtukia tuko registered.
Kila mtu wa check sasa. Si tuliwekwa kwa political party si wote.
Nikajikuta niko Jubilee hiyo time. So for me, I'd say for young people especially, to be involved in political parties and for these processes, I think right now as we are set in the country, it's usually even just for photo ops. Even for these political parties, they would want to show that they focus on the youth, so they bring in a youth league, they bring in some other people for them to look good, that they are including everyone. But also, if you want to vie for a place, if you do not have money, really, it's really hard. And for the young people who are just coming out of school or do not have a job and they want to get into the political space, either watu wakuhurumie na wakupatie kura, ama ukue na pesa uhongane, ndio uta manage kupenya.
But you guys are still pasana.
So those are not the issues when you ask when you want better leadership. The only thing you need to ask is that, do you have the capacity to lead us? What are you going to do? Of course, I had the manifesto with me. I had everything I had to ensure that we have a better working count in terms of legislative and ensuring that whatever is being legislated is for the common good of the people. But you are not listening to that. Walikuwa wanataka pesa. So I do feel that. And when it comes now to matters to do with the political parties, I happen to be a member of DAP Kenya as a youth leader. But with that, there are also obstacles which we face as a youth in the political parties. First, unapata chama iko na wenyewe, unapata iko wazee wamekaa kwa hiyo chama miaka mingi. So how is my brother going to grow in that? So one thing I can assure for us to work together as the youth to ensure that we have that growth in any political party is the unity. Tusikubali kukua divided juu ya pesa ndogo ndogo. Ukiona your friend amepost kitu mahali, I did hear that we have to use social media well. So hiyo inaanza na kitu moja. Umeona rafiki yako amepost, just like it or retweet. If you like and retweet, utakuwa umemsaidia. So you don't have to agree with him, but we kumsupport ya kwanza inaanza. You don't have to follow him, just like, retweet whatever amepost. That's the first support you give.
Yeah.
So going forward, when you use our social media, if you want to support each other, inaanza na hapo. You like, you retweet, you comment, or you give a feedback on the same. and from there sisi wote tutakuwa tumemea na tutakuwa tumejengana.
But I have a big question for you. You had your manifesto. Assuming that you are elected into that position, kuna kitu ungekutana nayo inaitwa party positions. That a party has a position on a certain issue. And you are told you have been voted on party A, and our position as party A is this. If it goes against your principle, now unaambiwa this is the party position, you either follow the party position or you resign and go and get fresh mandate. How would you deal with that dilemma? Or if you are given that brown envelope and you are told this is the position yenye tunapitisha, ungefanya aje? Na tulisema tuongee ukweli.
Yeah, tukianza na ukweli, if we were to take such and conform to what others expect us to do, tungekuwa kwingine mbali, personally. Because we never conformed, that's why we are here, sitting together.
Hey, politician, you are evading my question.
I'm answering because I have to have that from the honesty corner.
Yes.
So from my honesty corner, tungekuwa tunachukua hiyo envelope, ama tungekuwa tunana na wengine with the party positions being influenced, hatuwezi kuwa tumefika mahali tumefika, ama tungekuwa kwingine, because sasa ungekuwa unaona tuna roll huko nje, but because some of us were raised from families that know that when you stand with the truth, no matter where you go, you will have that self cognizant, like utajua tunajiamini, una kitu inakusumbua akili, because you don't conform to what others say. You have to stick to your principles. So if since I read my manifesto, I don't think such would have persuaded my decision to stick to what the party does, but I would have done what is good for the people.
I'm still struggling to. Anyway, you have answered but not answered. Let us hear from one lady, and then we are
before
going
we
to
hear from the lady. Power is taken, power is not given. I've taken the power. Comrades, power. I'm happy with the conversation that we are having, but allow me one. Most of the time we encourage young people to join political parties, which is not bad. But do we have political parties in this country? Or do we have ethnic grouping or people business? Because today, for example, what were ODMA? What were UDA? Today, can you be able to can you be able to go against what Baba says?
Exactly.
Can you be able to go against what Ruto says?
That is the fundamental
Because that
question.
is the fundamental question that we must ask ourselves. Sasa niko na baba yangu, nimeita tu baba kwa sababu muwaga mnamuita hivyo, si ndio? Lakini niko na baba yangu ambaye amenizaa. But the reality is, even right now what we are experiencing in this country, politicians, even parliament itself, have been compromised to a point where there is no one who is speaking for the voice of mwananchi. So at the end of the day, how then, because hata kuvai kama an independent candidate, it's allowed within the constitution. Must we be able to join the political parties for us to be able to participate effectively? Because at the center of political parties must be the interest of the people. So those are some of the things that we must be able to focus about as young people. But nonetheless, point yangu ya mwisho, tusipige story hapa ya jaba. Tukitoka na tudanganyane, kwa sababu when we come to such forums, tunaongea vizuri,
yes,
we make good promises, but at the end of the day kifika kutimiza inakuwa ni shida. Are we able that at the end of the day tukitoka hapa, hizi vitu zenye tunasema tunaendelea kutimiza? I was a young person, I died in 2022. But it is the same young people ambao watakuangusha. Let us not wait, tunasema ati come 2027 tutaonyesha. What are we doing here right now? Kusimama, it's a process. Politics is a process. It is not a one-day event. So what are we doing right now as young people? Wakati tulikuwa demo last year, kulikuwa na hiyo momentum. The sequences za conversation going on. Are we continuing with those conversations? Are we organizing online? Are we organizing kwa ground? Because we need to have those continuous engagement to a point where juu kuna young person wako hapa, mimi najua the right thing, kuna ule ajui the right thing. Yes. How do we ensure that anajua the right thing? So tukitoka hapa tuache kupiga stories za jaba.
Kweli.
Hiyo kusema nitapigia mtu hata kama ana pesa, tuweze kusema naweza na tuanze kufanya, kwa sababu hata sisi tuko hapa.
Kweli.
Ukiitwa kwa forum kama kuna dau unakuja.
Hawakuji
Let me pass
hawa.
the mic.
So one of the associations zenye zinakuanga with a lot of hope in this country, an association of young people, is the scouting movement. These guys have demonstrated to us that young people can be focused and disciplined. But what is the space of the scouts in advocating and pushing for good governance? I would want Wanjiko to tell us. But before that, let us hear from one person, and then I come to Wanjiko. So that you tell us, what are these values that the scout movement holds so dear, and how are they going to assist us as a country? So, Mother,
this young lady is from Kiambu County, and when we're talking about political parties, I think...
si mama.
Oh, sorry, hata sikuwa na ubaya. Tumesema tuongee ukweli. The reason why political parties are such a monster for young people is that, one, to form a political party is an expensive affair. And I know that because there's someone very close to me right now who's registering a political party. It's very expensive.
Wamunyoro.
Apana. Who is that? What are you saying? And it's such an expensive affair. And just the things that someone has to do to get a lot of these approval of documents and constitutions and all of that, it's an expensive affair. So political parties... And the reason why we're saying that young people should be joining political parties is because we know it's an expensive affair. Number two, we are asking them to join those parties because should they get elected into office, they have their cronies or comrades who are from the same political party who are able to push the motions when they go into assemblies.
Just what happened to Occupy? Because for young people, you can simply occupy that political party and take over because the numbers are there and you have that control. So why are you not occupying these political parties and make them work for the young people?
Actually, for me, I would say, because we know the challenges that there are right now with political parties and the entrenchment there is with a select group of people who are making the decisions and have the financial muscle to be able to influence those political parties. For me, as Wajiko from Thika, Karifarifi village, is that young people should vie for those elective seats regardless of whether they are in a political party or not.
Good. Yeah. Totally agree. Let us hear from the Scouts movement after James. James, you can go first.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, my convener. Okay, I'm James Mongai once again. I want to concur with a few guys who have said something here. I once vied for political seat back in 2017. Actually, I was very young, at the age of 23. But what I experienced that made me not to run again 2022. Wacha niwaambie, if we cannot organize and change this conversation, what you are trying to say, I know a few here have vied, but these political parties belong to individuals who have certain agenda, and also their formation zinaingianga na venye how popular is that party within a certain region. 2017, the popular party was Jubilee. Kila watu walipigana huko na nikajaribu kutafuta space bana hata ningekufia huko. Sasa the question is, do we need to also come with another formation which is very expensive? Kwenda independent pia si rahisi. You need to collect signatures. Hapa kuambia mtu akupatie signature moja, ID na sign, na hana property na anakataa. Kusikiza mtu sign here nini, ati utaniibia, unashangaa unaibia mtu nini. That data, if I need it, I can get it. I'm of this opinion. We need to regroup. We need to use this tactic, guerrilla warfare. Jukiniambia, we have those people who know, we know the integrity. We have one Iron Lady, Mother Karua, who we really love, who have fought for this country. But nikienda kwetu mashinani, hiyo chama hawaitaki. Hawaitaki. 2022 walikuwa wanataka UDA. So what about, why don't we regroup? Juu shida ni pale mwananchi. Huyu mama mboga, huyu Wanjiko, hawa wazazi wetu ndio wamefanya ile makosa mingi kabisa. Why don't we regroup? Tuende na hizo chama wanataka, tuingie. Tukifika pale, now we are many. Because if you tell me to go as an independent party, huku kwetu saizi wave ni wa Munyoro. Tukubali ama tusikatae, hiyo ni wave. Tukienda kwingine ni ODM. Huwezi enda kusimama against candidate wa ODM. So what do we need to do? Kama nitapata hiyo chance ODM, wacha tujifiche tukiwa vijana wengi, tuingie ODM. Tukiingia bunge, juu shida iko sasa pale bunge. To change. If Kiambu County we are about 60 MCAs. If we can be able to mobilize about 2024, hakuna finance bill ya ujinga itakuwa inapitishwa pale. Now I'll be accountable to these young people who bought that idea. I need to first get inside there to regroup. Lakini mkiniambia ati mimi nisimame independent kule mashinani, hakuna mtu ananitaka. Nisimame sijui na Kenya, nisimame hawa Wanjiko na ndio wengi na ndio wakubafu na ndio wanatukosea sana. So we need to change and to regroup. Asante.
Wow, Scouts, please give us some hope. Scouts, you are our last line of defense. Please inspire some hope.
Scout we. My name is Brian from World Scout Parliamentary Union, and I have our members here from Kenya Scout Association. Now, I'll give a brief, and I don't want to have a political perspective on this. I want to put out how we train our young people. Scouting is the biggest movement in the country with more than 4.5 million subscribers countrywide. That is in Kenya only. And our role, the role that we've taken as WSP is to make sure that our scouts are sensitized and understand their role in the society. One being the sense of civic duty and responsibility. During Mandamano, these young men you see here took a role which was, we have a lot of, thematic areas that we cover. One being first aid, leadership, and all that. Being the biggest movement, we've been able to train, or rather to sensitize our young people about the importance of integrity, important of making sure that they participate in national programs, which includes voting and participating directly in elective processes. I think, Chacha, you can bear with me witness, the program that we have right now, we've managed to have mocks of young youth bunges in respective counties where we encourage our young people to participate in public participations and all that. So for us, we are not taking a front line in political processes, but rather in civic duty and responsibilities. We make sure that there's inclusion, we're asking our politicians the right questions, and we are included in decision making, and we're in that table. Thank you so much.
If a scout came and said that they would want to vie for a political position, would you put your weight behind that candidate, considering that the values and principles that you hold so dear are the ones they are going to take to on the governance table?
Absolutely, absolutely. We've seen best practices in Parliament from our members that are scouts. So I think I can vouch for the young people here and even the scouts that are in Parliament now. I don't want to mention names, but they have a very good track record. Msijuliza ni akina nani, wanaweza kuwa wamekuwa diluted by political affiliations, but they're really doing a fantastic job. Thank you so much.
Great. I think these are important conversations we are having. And before I come back to the audience, I would like to ask to shift gears a bit to the matter of the young people and in the climate space. This is one area that everyone is saying is the next big thing, because climate change has become so important and it has become a cross-cutting theme that you cannot talk about any programming without mention of climate change. And this is a space that has that is largely, new to most people, especially in the grassroots. But we would like to hear from a youth perspective. What is the role of young people? And what is this that all these things we keep hearing about Flocker and their billions, about carbon credits, sijui nini? Where is the space of this conversation for the young people? And is it the young people who are controlling the conversations in this space? And I would like to bring Stella to just give us an insight in the context of climate change and the young people.
Saseni tena. The softer the voice, probably the thicker the points. I hope it's thick enough. So, nyinyi wote mmesikia climate action. Alafu mkafosiwa kufanya 15 billion trees. Alafu mkapewa holiday. Nimeambiwa nipande hapa juu mimi ni mfupi. Alafu mkapewa holiday, si ndio? Na mkaambiwa mkwe mnajaza kwa jaza miti, si ndio? Na you guys are okay with that. And statistics show zile miti mnapanda 90% are dying. Juu mnaenda tu mnapanda. Grow, si ndio? the political behind the holiday ni nini? Do you know? Do you know the issue of carbon credits? Mtasikia soon kuna carbon millionaires. Mnashangaa story ilipitia wapi? Nyinyi mmesikia COVID millionaires, mmesikia SHA kidogo, mtasikia carbon billionaires. Msiseme sikuambia. So try keep track. Some of these things are happening like the carbon credits. There is a bill currently na inaenda tu na mnapitwa tu. Then hizo pesa, it's after donations. Hizo pesa zote zikikuja, they go to people's pockets kama kawaida, si ndio? Alafu sasa ni nini mnafanya? You talk about governance as if it doesn't trickle down to every other part of our aspects. Like ukikuja climate, there is governance. Ukienda shule, there is governance in every aspect. And if one politician ako pale juu anatu affect, sisi wote tuna affectiwa. Nani walisikia floka? Mmesikia floka, si ndio? Nani ina work kwao? Nani ina work kwao? Financing locally led actions on climate. Mnajua? Mshaisikia? Hiyo pesa inaenda kwa mifuko za watu. So every county at ward level inafaa kuwa na pesa za kuimplement climate projects. Lakini probably hamjaisikia, si ndio? Where is the transparency? Hiyo pesa ilipeanwa Africa Climate Summit. Na nyinyi hata hamjui. That money is going to people's pockets. We try to follow up in Kiambu. Na tuliletewa tanks 2 shule. Tukaambiwa that is floka for you guys. And we are talking millions and billions of money per county. Tuliambiwa nyinyi ni tanks 2 na mko sawa. Na tukaachwa hivyo. Scouts are being used. Tokenism everywhere. Sorry. Before niendelee. So, Scouts, radio scouts nyinyi ni representatives. So kama mnatumiwa, nyinyi ndo nitapoint. Scouts are used to do the 15 billion thingy, right? Wanatokea kwa wingi, wana march pale, and then what happens? Mnaambiwa mpande miti, and hiyo pesa, kuna pesa kwa hizo vitu. But hiyo pesa inaenda wapi? Kwa mifuko za watu. Because you believe governance and accountability is only about politics. Each time you look at governance in an aspect of everything that goes around, everything that relates with you. Youths and tokenism has been one of the biggest thing in the climate space. University students kujeni, whips. Mnaitwa mnakuja mnapewa 500. You're told to do something that will not create any impact. Why are you allowing to be the problem? Why can't you be the solution? Why are you acting like unafaa kuwa hiyo shida? So look at some of these things and what you can get from opportunities. Achani siongee hiyo saizi. But have you tried to tap on the things that we can get as youths when it comes to climate? And have you tried to look at the government and what they are doing for you? Si hakuna job Kenya. One of the very promising fields saizi is climate innovations. But tunajaribu kupata licensing ya kukua renewable energy person na uwezi pata. It's either expensive or a lot of bureaucracy. Why are you not going after those things? Na watu kupea job. The government haita kupea job. But when your climate innovations are in jeopardy, you don't want to ask. Because you believe iko pale juu. What part are you playing in the conversation? Be the part of the solution. Ask those important questions. Climate not to affect sisi wote. Ni vile maybe we don't have the deep understanding of what it means. Vitu zingine lazima tuangalie wase. Thank you.
Hello, can you guys hear me? My name is Njage, but in the hood I'm called Shaolin. From Kiambu. I've had a couple of panelists and members of the audience talk about power is taken. How do we take the power? Now, from the people of Kiambu, I will not say specifically where I'm from because we all know I may not get home. I may find Subarus waiting for me on stage. So I will not say exactly where.
Please speak up.
I will not say exactly where I'm from because I know Subarus will be waiting for me. But just know it's Kiambu, and I'm happy that there are some Kiambu members in the panel. And you as well. Welcome, my brother. Now, about power being taken, I want to thank the chief panelists for first citing the first difference that the government has decided that we will never know. They like grouping the youth between 15 years old and 35. But let's be honest, a 15-year-old and a 35-year-old have very different interests, right? An 18-year-old is looking... Hello? Okay. An 18-year-old is looking for a job, is thinking about their education. A 24-year-old is thinking about their salary and their savings. A 35-year-old is thinking about the fees for their children, the investments that they have. That's why we have millennials and Gen Zs. We are all youth, yes, but it is good for all of us to know so that the politicians can stop taking us by surprise. Secondly, the loans that are given into this country affect generations. If you take a loan to build a highway, a super highway, and the loan will be paid for 30 years, what does that mean? That means that there is a kid who has not been born today, who will be born tomorrow, and will pay those taxes until he's 30 years old. That is not fair, right? They say, I've heard a lot of panelists say from morning that Gen Zs did this, Gen Z power, but they don't give you the power. They just want to say, enda, chukua kura, piga. What the people of Kiambu, from where I'm from, have told me, wanachukua ID, wasimame kama candidates. Yes? Secondly, wananiambia hivi, that it is unfair for a 60-year-old who has earned a salary for 30 years, has retirement, to compete with somebody who is 19 years old. That is unfair. We are not going to compete. I want to say that the people in my place have told me the Gen Zs must be paid for the debt of Rex Masai's blood on the streets. And they have told me in Kiambu, if the position of MCA is not a Gen Z, sahau. Gen Z, MCA, if the party does not bring a Gen Z as an MCA, sahau. And the reason they've told me MCA, not MP, is because there is nobody who knows their ward like the young person at home. Sisi millennials tunaendanga kazi asubuhi, tunarudi usiku. Hatujui ni barabara gani itatengenezwa, hatujui ni wapi hakuna maji, but Gen Z mwenye ako mtaani anajua mahali barabara iko na mahali haiko. Anajua mahali maji iko na maji haiko. So we are saying that MCA position, by the Gen Zs, just so you know, do you know how much it is to apply for a candidature of MCA at IBC? Guess. Give me a guess. Just a guess. Pardon? Yes, a Gen Z that is. How much do you think you would pay? Take a guess. No. 5,000 shillings. Nani haezi pata 5,000 hapa? Let's be honest. Nani haezi pata 5,000? On a real note, go and check the IBC website. 5,000 shillings. So, if you want to run, get 5,000 shillings, and you are an MCA. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. We are just taking now the closing remarks because we are coming to the tail end of our session. Just one back there on climate change. Because I'm being told that we've really run out of time because there's another session that is in the main stage. But I think it is very important. It is very burning. It's going to be only 1 minute. Please. Just. Yeah, ongea tu usikike. Wacha ongea ikutoke tu.
Sasa nitakupea t-shirt. Yeah, sorry.
I think we've
been informed
short
that
of
we've run
time.
out of time for this particular village. We all need to convene at the main stage. So that is why it's not a little flexible. You just bear with us. Tomorrow we will try within our possibilities to fix everything within the time that we can get meaningfully. Thank you. But
Yeah,
you can
so
further have these conversations with the panelists here. Just allow them to finish with closing remarks. Don't leave yet.
So we are just going to have our closing remarks. My panelists, if one panelist wants to donate that time. Sawa, I'm told that the 30 seconds have been donated to you. You have 1 minute closing remarks so that we close this village. Tena utaki? So I think this is the level of corruption tuliongea asubuhi. So thank you so much for the time that we've had in this. Let these conversations continue on the socials, on all our spaces, because these are important conversations for us young people. And until tomorrow, please let us also join the village tomorrow so that we have these conversations as we continue to enlighten each other and make our country greater. Thank you so much. I think we need now to move to the next session, but not before we get some entertainment from my DJ.
The DJ is not here. The DJ is not here. Give a better round of applause to every of the speakers that participated in that discussion. And give a better round of applause to all of you for having made the first day of PDF 2025 Youth Villages activities a success. Jipigeni makofi jamani. And like has already been mentioned, this is just but day one. We have 4 more days. See you again tomorrow, see you on Friday, and see you on Saturday. And remember, every evening we have an event at the main stage. So we are inviting you to equally just join and continue the party. In the meantime, for just 1 minute, DJ Kelv tukifunga. Let's go.
Check. DJ Kelv, what is DJ? Youth Mpo. I have just one last announcement on behalf of CMD. We're going to have Gravity performing at the Sisi Nisasa village. That's at the gate. So as soon as we finish here, please let's all head to near the gate where we have the Sisi Nisasa village. We'll have Gravity band performing there. Baka Salem nataka kumalizia. Asante.
DJ Kelv.